Hey, everybody. This is your girl, Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic, for episode 54, a very special episode of the Curvy Critic here at Black Hollywood Live. It's going to be a Fosse introspective. Stay right there.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Hello, everybody. This is your girl, Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic, for episode, I said 54, but I actually meant episode 55. I can't count clearly. And what I did was, what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to have a retrospective episode every month and follow something that is near and dear to my heart. And because Fosse Verdon is coming on FX, well, it would have come on by the time you see this. It airs actually tonight. April 9th. It will come on Fosse Verdon on FX. It'll be on for 4 weeks straight. And I couldn't think of one person that was more involved in the Fosse Verdon world than my friend Tony nominee Valarie Pettiford.
Hi, boo.
Hey, girl. Hey.
How you doing?
I am fantabulous. How are you? I'm so glad that you took time to come over here today. I'm really, really excited about it because you have your own lineage. Let me just run it down real quick. Let me just give you a proper introduction. So a lot of people may know you from the TV show Half and Half.
Yes.
Where you played Big Dee Thorne.
Yes.
I loved you playing Big Dee.
I love that character.
Hilarious.
I love her.
A lot other people will know you from BET's Being Mary Jane.
Yes.
as Val. Oh my God, as the character over there. What was your name over there?
I got Sandra.
Yes.
No, Sandra.
No.
Oh my God, I don't even remember my own name. Rhonda Sales. Thank you very much.
Rhonda Sales, yes,
Yes.
ma'am. And then other people will know you from a new show that you're on called The Family Business.
Family Business. Yes.
And now you have brought your Broadway background to the small screen, working on and recreating the choreography of Bob Fosse for FX's Fosse Verdon.
Yes, indeed.
So tell me how you came to that, and then we're going to talk about one of Fosse's projects right after that.
Well, how I came to that is Nicole Fosse asked myself, Lloyd Culbreth.
And for those that don't know, Nicole Fosse is Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon's daughter.
Yes, their baby. About 7 years ago, asked us to be a part of the Verdon Fosse, which is different from Fosse Verdon.
Yes.
Verdon Fosse legacy, to help reconstruct his choreography through master classes and archive, and it's to promote and maintain the integrity of his choreography. And so we've had the pleasure for the last 7 years teaching and reconstructing all the stuff that you see on tape or you don't see on tape, getting notes and calling original cast members and trying to notate and get all this stuff protected. And so now comes this, FX series, and Anna Blankenbuehler, who was the original choreographer for the show, said, Nicole, can you get the Verdon Fosse?
The whole gang
yeah,
together.
can you get the gang together? Because we want to reconstruct some of the,
Right.
original choreography as much as we can throughout the series.
Okay.
And so Dana Moore, Lloyd
I
Culbreth,
know
and
Dana.
myself. Yes.
I did How to Succeed with Dana.
Awesome. And they were all original Fosse dancers as well and worked with Gwen. And we all had the opportunity, and I had the wonderful opportunity to reconstruct 4 numbers in the show.
So we'll talk about the 4 numbers a little later. But while we're talking about Dana, I wanted to bring this up. So before we got on the air, I was telling you that I have my own little 6 degree of separation with Gwen Verdon.
I know, it's so exciting.
Okay, so this is what happened.
What happened?
So this is what had happened. So what had happened was, I was in a musical called The Life, which was Cy Coleman's last musical he did on Broadway.
I know, boo, I saw it.
And Lilius White and Chuck Cooper won the Tony for their performances in that. But what happened was Cy wanted to do a concert version of Sweet Charity at Lincoln Center to raise money for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS.
Yes.
So he had all of the girls from The Life, all the hookers in The Life. We were the chorus for Sweet Charity for this concert, and so we did Big Spender and I Love a Big Wedding, or that wedding song.
Yes.
We did those 2 numbers, and then he had 5 different charities or people that were in Sweet Charity in some incarnation or another come and do it. So he had, and I'm going to go through the list because I knew I would get nervous and I would forget. So Gwen Verdon,
Yes.
when she would leave a scene, then Cheetah would come in. When Cheetah would leave a scene, BB Newirth would come in, and BB was the Nikki in the 1986 revival.
Yes.
And Cheetah was Nikki in the film version, and of course Gwen was the original Charity. And then when BB would leave, Debbie Allen, who was Charity in the 1986 revival, would come
Yes.
on. And when Debbie would leave, Donna McKechnie would come on,
Yeah.
who at some point I think either replaced Debbie or did the tour or something.
Well, she was there. She was doing Charity the night that Bob died.
Oh, yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
So, see, I'm glad you're here. So, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so they would come, when one of them would leave, another one would come on.
Right.
And then the other stars that were in it were John McMartin, who was in I'm not sure if he did the Broadway version, but I know he was in the film version.
Yes.
Brian Stokes Mitchell, or Stokes as we affectionately call him in the Broadway community. Jim Dale, Betty Buckley, Carol Channing, Lilius White, Pamela Isaacs, New York City former Mayor David Dinkins, New York City former Mayor Ed Koch, Charles Nelson Riley, Dom DeLuise, Robert Goulet, Jerry Orbach, Marissa Tomei, Hinton Battle, and Marla Maples. All these people were in the show, and I was on stage with all these people.
Oh my goodness!
I was like, what is happening? But my best story from that whole experience was while we were in rehearsals, when everybody else would take their 5 or their 10 or they would go to lunch, I would stay in the room and I would talk to Gwen. And I would ask her, because she was still doing her thing and still moving. I was like, how are you able, like, really? Because I think at that point she was like 70-ish or 80-ish or something.
Right.
And I was like, how are you still able to do that? And she said, my grandchildren keep me young. I run after them, and that's what keeps me young. And then she told me story after story after story of being in Sweet Charity. She told me stories about working with Bob. She told me all these stories, and I would be on the floor like this listening to her. So she really liked me for some reason. She was fascinated with my hair. Fascinated with my hair. And she thought that, I'm gonna get emotional. She thought that I was a good dancer.
Oh, honey.
She thought I was a dancer. And I was like, Gwen Verdon thinks I can dance. I was so emotional. So when they started to get the tour together, the one that Jasmine Guy was on.
Yes.
Gwen suggested that I audition for the tour in the role of Velma. I was like, what? So she hooked me up with an audition for Velma. I didn't know what I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she was like, yes, you do. And I'm like, okay. And, for any incarnation of any Fosse show, you have to dance first. If you can't make it past the Fosse choreography, you don't get to sing.
Right.
He don't care. They don't care if you can sing or not. You don't get to sing.
Right.
So Ann Ranking and BB Newirth were in the room, and there was this one step that I couldn't get to save my life, and they were like, okay, yeah, next. I was like, oh. But I love the fact that she believed in me.
Yeah.
I love the fact that she referred me for that part. She had me for the big spender thing. There was that pole. She had me put my head underneath the pole.
Oh, you were that girl.
I was that girl.
Yes.
My arms up here and this one leg up. I looked like a broken doll, and this foot turned in.
That's right.
And I was like, I didn't even know I could do that.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. But I just wanted to share that story
So
with you.
So for people that don't know Gwen, you know what I mean? She was an amazing person, human. It was an honor. It was an honor to be in her presence, and you saw her heart.
She was really.
She liked you. She meant it. You know what I mean?
She did. Yeah. You knew it wasn't any BS. She wasn't, because some people be like, oh, you're so great, and then the next time they see you, they don't even know your name.
Right. But she was
not that
beyond the
person.
call 'cause she believed in
And
you.
then she wrote us all handwritten notes after that was over. She mailed each and every single person a handwritten note, thanking them individually for what they like. And she knew exactly what we did, and she signed it, and she found everybody's address and mailed it to everybody's house.
Nice.
Like, yes. But I wanted to share some trivia that I found out about Sweet Charity that I did not know before. So let me see if I can find it real quick. I found out that where is it? Or maybe it was Chicago. It was Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Chicago. I found out stuff about Chicago, so we'll just leave that alone.
Okay.
We'll leave it alone.
That's all right. It's all good.
But I did find out some really cool stuff about All That Jazz. That I did find out about. So
we're talking about the movie.
Yes, All That Jazz, the movie. So I found out that the address on those Dexedrine pills that he was taking in the film, every time he was like, showtime, folks.
Yes.
The address on that bottle that Joe Gideon, the character, was using every morning was 61 West 58th Street.
Yeah.
Bob Fosse actually lived in an apartment 26B at 58 West 58th Street.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
I love that.
Isn't that
I
crazy?
had no idea.
Wait, and then this was funny too. So Alan Alda, Robert Blake, Elliot Gould, Gene Hackman, Jack Nicholson, and George Segal were all considered for the role of Joe Gideon.
Really?
Isn't that fascinating?
That's crazy good.
Because when you think about Roy Scheider doing it,
I can't see anybody else
he's
until
like,
now.
Robert
with
Blake,
Sam.
really?
Yeah.
Like Robert Blake is
Gene
Joe
Hackman? They're all brilliant, though. They're all so brilliant.
All brilliant,
That's the
but
thing.
I was just like,
the stature and everything about
now
Roy.
where were you, Fosse wise, when All That Jazz came out?
Okay, so my story about All That Jazz was my very, very first audition for Mr. Bob Fosse.
Oh, for All That Jazz?
All That Jazz.
Tell me you have to tell me what happened.
So what happened was, I was like, ooh, child, I must have been 16 going on 17 going,
Wow.
yeah, 16, 17. It was
You're young.
Yeah, I was a young babe. And so I knew because of seeing Sweet Charity in film and Kiss Me Kate, and I was like, okay, I've got to work with this man. There's something about his choreography that I just go, oh my God, there's something about him, right? And so I auditioned, and I got through the whole thing, the everything that Bob does when he auditions. He jumps across the floor. He does the 2 for 2 every audition. Then he gives choreography from whatever the show or movie he's doing. And then you have to sing and do all this kind of stuff and read or whatever. And I got all the way to the end, and the very last call was everybody that was it either ended up doing the movie or next in line. And I looked down the line and I saw this incredible human being by the name of Rima Vetta. I didn't know her name yet. Gorgeous hair, beautiful African-American woman who ended up getting the role. It was between her and I.
Oh, no.
It was between her and I. And I looked down, I was like, yeah, she got this role. I mean, she was just perfect. I was young, I was green, I wasn't ready. She was perfect for it. But I never forget, this is one little story I usually do in my one-woman show. When I auditioned for that, I never sang before at an audition. I didn't know you had to have sheet music and a piano play and stuff like that.
I think we all had that moment at one point or another.
And so I was
My mom was with me when I had that moment.
Oh my God. And so I said, so Bob said, so what are you going to sing? I said, I'm going to sing God Bless the Child, and I'd like to do it a cappella. He said, really? Oh, okay.
He's like, okay, sip,
okay.
sip.
Okay. So I got it, it's starting, them as God shall get, them that's not shall lose. And while I'm singing, Bob circles me.
Ooh, intimidation of
Circles
life.
me. He circles me. I'll never forget. Cigarette hanging out of the corner of his mouth, squinting the eye. Yep. He circles me. And I was like, oh, okay. Because he didn't think I could do it. I was nervous as hell, but that was my first time auditioning for Bob.
Okay, so what happened after he circled you?
And I finished the song, and he's like, okay, all right. And went on his merry way. It's like, you know what I mean? Because this was like the final bit, the final like wrap up, choosing who was actually going to do the movie. So to get that far, to get to the final grouping of these amazing human beings, the ones that got and the ones that were there, it was just an honor. And so the next time I auditioned for Bob, I did get it, which was the very first national tour of dancing.
So we have this in common. A guy that I dated in St. Louis, his brother was a dancer, and he was in dancing, and I think he might have been in that tour. William Suggs Brown. They used to call him Bubby.
Not
that tour. Okay.
No.
But he did a tour of it because when I was working in the theme parks, he came down and was trying to encourage me to audition for Dreamgirls. I was like, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, right? Oh, my God, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, man. And when I went out of the country and when I came back and Dreamgirls was like on the cover of Ebony Magazine, I was like, oh, man.
I should have done it.
I should have did that.
I totally get it.
So what was the rehearsal process like for dancing?
Oh, my God. Well, it was, 6 weeks of basically audition. You got the gig, but instead of me taking over the role of so-and-so, we were all auditioning for the different, leads, and because we were all principals, and we were auditioning for, different spots and stuff like that. And so it was the most intense, grueling, precise, tenacious, kick butt rehearsal process I have ever endured. We had some of the original cast members plus the new folks that came in, so we had that incredible combination. What was extraordinary about the first national tour, it was the first cast that had 5 black principal dancers.
And who were those people other than you?
Hinton Battle, the late Gary Chapman, Allison William Foster, and Stanley Perryman, and myself.
Wow.
Yeah, a show of that ilk. Because, back then, we're talking about in 1978, when you were in a white show, you know what I mean? You would have...
It was usually one or two.
Right, you had your token, and that's what Bob did. He had, the great Karen Burke and Geneva and
wow.
Edward Love.
Ooh, I haven't
my
heard
God.
those names in a long time.
Well, they were the original in dancing.
Wow.
Oh my God, they were extraordinary. And so, so instead of taking their roles, you know what I mean? That's why we ended up everybody auditioning. But to say that it was 5 black principals, and so Bob was definitely colorblind. It wasn't about color. It was about can you do the role.
It was about whether or not you could dance.
Yes, because when I auditioned for dancing, and Allison Williams and I got to the last group, we're like, well, darling, it's going to be between you and me. We didn't think we would do it together. That's not what happens on the Broadway at that time. Not 2 black female stars. Are you kidding? No. And it was like, and I love me some Allison Williams. That was my idol. She's amazing and still is. She's extraordinary. And so we were like, baby, whoever gets it, carry on. And then we both got it. We're like, yay! So yeah.
Wow.
And so that was my, my first time working with the man.
Now, where were you when they were doing the revival of Sweet Charity? Were you thinking about auditioning for that, or were you out on the road with another show?
No, where was I? I probably had just done Grind. Because we're talking about...
I remember that show.
Yeah, we're talking about like kind of 85.
85, 86.
Yeah, so what had happened was when they did the revival of Sweet Charity, Bob was planning for his pre-production for his new show, Big Deal. And so I got a call, and this was another funny story. I was doing a commercial, and I get this voice message. Remember old voice message machines? And it was from Bob. And I was like, no, it ain't. This ain't Bob. He ain't calling me.
Right? Because that's kind of crazy.
That's kind of crazy.
Right.
But it was Bob. And he said, Valarie, I want to do this backers audition for this new show. Would you want to do it? I'm like, duh. Yeah. Yeah, so me, Barbara Yeager, Gary Chapman, Chris Chapman, who was his associate and all this stuff, we did the backers audition for his new production of Big Deal. So that was happening simultaneously as the road company. So after Debbie left and Annie came in and stuff, he was getting prepared for that. And so I did that, the backers audition, and then we ended up doing the show, which was 85. The year before he died, and that I was part of his skeleton crew. I helped give auditions. I was his dance captain. I had an incredible show of my own. I acted in. I was part of a famous trio, and it was an amazing time. And I got a chance to. Linda Habern was his assistant, and I was the dance captain. So I was always in the room.
These names that you're throwing out, I haven't heard these names since I was in New York.
Yeah.
I just want you to speak real briefly to what it was like to be a young 16, 17-year-old aspiring young black woman dancer in New York, where it was a predominantly white situation. It was.
Yeah.
To be that person and have him circling you, to being a dance captain and then working on the skeleton crew for a brand new show.
It was like, when all that happened, the culmination of this is where I am with Fosse. It's like, I could die and go to heaven. At that time, it's like, it's the norm for us. People understand that as African Americans, if you want to make it in the world, we have to deal with y'all. And I hate to put it that way, but that's what it is. But y'all don't have to deal with us.
Exactly.
If y'all don't want to, y'all don't have to deal with us, but we have to. So we were so used to being the token. It wasn't, okay, that's what it is. I know I'm going to have to work harder. I know I'm going to have to be, be the best I possibly can be, and stronger and harder, and don't blah, 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 because they, unfortunately, they all expect you to fail, but, it comes with the territory. So it was not new for us to be that. And so it was just a joy to be amongst 5, for other black incredible dancers, especially in dancing, and then to go on with Big Deal, which was a predominantly black cast.
It was.
Yes, honey.
It was.
Yes.
And that actually was a big deal. 'Cause
Yes.
I remember everybody talking about, oh, child, have you heard about this new show that Fosse's doing? It's called Big Deal, and there's a whole bunch of black people in it. I was
Yes,
like,
got Loretta Devine and Cleavon Derricks.
Yes.
And yes, oh my God.
It was crazy.
Right, it was extraordinary. Bob didn't care. Can you do the work?
Can you do the
Can you
dance
do the work?
moves? Can you do the
To
dance
the camera.
moves?
Can you do the work? Good. You fierce. Go.
Yes.
And go. God. But it was to work, because I had such a visceral reaction to his choreography, and then be able to do it and work with him on these occasions and work with him so closely, and Big Deal, you know what I mean? It was like, it was, the lack of a better word, it was everything.
Yeah, it was.
Everything. It was just, it meant so much to me, and he treated me beautifully. So I was, and I could say anything to him. It was like, Bob, that ain't working,
And he wouldn't.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
because girl, we would hear stories.
It was like,
With those really big names like the Fosses and the Jerome Robbins
Yeah.
and people like that. We would hear stories like that mythical story about Jerome Robbins.
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That mythical one where he backed up into the orchestra pit because people were salty.
Yeah,
that he
know.
was not such a nice person. I heard that. I was like, oh no, really?
All choreographers. I mean, that was the training back then. They were, very
They were
nice
task-
and polite.
they were taskmasters.
We would have shit thrown at us. Oh, can I say that on there?
Yeah, they were taskmasters, because I worked with I eventually ended up working with Wayne Salento on Tommy and How to Succeed, and Tommy and Wayne comes from that Fosse school too, and he would rehearse us to death.
Oh, yeah.
He would rehearse us in those dance numbers until we would just fall out and couldn't lift another toe to
Yeah.
point anywhere.
Unless you're dead. You better get up and go. You better, honey. As far as dancers, we're the first to arrive, last to leave, treated, an actor would come in, it's like, oh, I'm not feeling it today. Take it, take the day off. A singer, oh, my throat is a little sore. Take the week off. A dancer,
no.
you better be dead.
Yeah.
And here we go.
And
Here we go. Ready?
Yep. And the kids on Broadway now, child, if they wake up and they hungover, they don't want to come do the show. They'll call in sick.
Oh, honey, that
would have never. When I first started doing it, you would have never done that.
You can't. No, that was
unheard of.
forbidden.
Like you would get fired for stuff like that.
Oh no, forbidden. So and it was just the sign of the times. I mean, we were all hard on us, Michael Peters and stuff. But I thank God for them. George Faison.
They taught us discipline.
They taught a discipline that has lasted me through everything I
Decades.
do, whether I'm dancing or not.
Yep.
I'm so appreciative of that type of discipline that we had. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, because what I do know is you work in television as well as I do.
Yep.
When you work on television, a lot of directors and studio people always say that they love working with people that come from the Broadway theater because we're very disciplined. We know how to show up on time.
Yeah.
We know how to show up and know our gig,
Yes.
know our lines, know our marks, know whatever it is we need to do.
Yep.
Because unlike television where you do it over and over and over again, you get to do that show one time. Like if you mess up a step, or you forget your line, you can't go, okay, stop. Can we go back to such and such a part and let's start over? You can't do that in
Nope.
live theater. You just got to make stuff up and keep it going.
Right, or if something happens, like the set piece decides it's not gonna move at that time,
Yep.
it's like, oh, which is hysterical. Which happened in Big Deal.
You got to think quick and work it out.
We had to work it out, but we laughed so hard, and then you can't make, you don't want the audience
Yeah,
to
and
like.
then you have those stories that last decades, and then the stories over years, like the one with Jerome Robbins. They turn into these mythical, crazy stories over time. But you have all these stories that last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Let me flip over to Chicago, because Chicago not only was a musical, but it was a musical 3 times, I think, and a movie and all that.
And all that.
And all that jazz.
Yes.
So this is the funny thing. So I said 6 Degrees of Separation, Bob Fosse.
Right.
So Marty Richards, who was the producer of The Life, was the
Yeah.
producer of the film version of Chicago.
Yeah.
And what I found out was that the Richard Rogers Theater, where we were doing, where I did Smokey Joe's Cafe, is where they did the original Chicago. I was like, oh my God, That's crazy. And the original Chicago, not the original, the second one, I think, the one in 1975, it ran for 936 performances. The one that's running right now has been running since 1996.
Yeah.
So it's been there for a minute.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
It has been there for a minute.
Isn't it the longest running?
It's the longest. It's one of the longest running Broadway shows.
Did it surpass Phantom?
I think it may have surpassed Phantom and Les Mis.
Wow.
Because Les Mis and Phantom were the two longest running ones, and I think it surpassed both of them. But this is the funny part. So for the role of Roxy Hart,
yes,
this is who was considered, and it's a long freaking list.
Okay.
Jennifer Aniston.
Yes.
Christina Applegate, who ended up doing the tour of Sweet Charity a little later on.
Yep.
Patricia Arquette, Drew Barrymore, Juliette Binoche, Cate Blanchett, Sandra Bullock, Toni Collette, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ellen DeGeneres.
Wow.
Wait, it gets better. Cameron Diaz, Claire Forlani, Jodie Foster, Heather Graham, Rachel Griffiths, Angie Harmon, Anne Heche, Katie Holmes, Helen Hunt, Mila Jovanovic, Ashley Judd, Patsy Kensit, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Taya Leone, Rona Mitra, Bridget Moynihan, Bebe Neuwirth, who also ended up doing the revival with Anne Reinking.
Right.
Gwyneth Paltrow, Monica Potter, Vanessa Shaw, Hilary Swank,
Wow.
Mira Sorvino, Charlize Theron, Marissa Tomei, Deborah Winger, and Kate Winslet were all considered for Roxy Hart for the movie.
For the movie, yeah.
For the movie. And this is who was considered for Velma. Toni Collette was also considered for Velma.
Yep.
Angelina Jolie. Cameron Diaz was also considered for Velma.
Yep.
Jennifer Lopez, Julia Roberts,
Wow.
and Gwyneth Paltrow also was considered for Velma Kelly. And this, when I read this, I hollered. Michael Jackson and Prince, both, at one point were considered to play the role of Billy Flynn.
Really?
Wait. Michael Jackson was considered, as Rob Marshall got down as his original choice for the role, it was Michael Jackson.
Wow.
But Harvey Weinstein objected to the idea of Jackson playing the role because he felt more attention would be paid to Michael Jackson being part of the cast than that of Catherine Zeta-Jones or Renee Zellweger.
Wow.
Can you imagine if Michael Jackson was in Chicago?
Wow. Well, I mean, with Rob Marshall's direction, I think I don't know. He might have made some stuff happen. I ain't mad. I ain't mad.
I was just like, really?
Yeah. I knew about some of them. I knew about the some of the Roxys and stuff like that because we did Jane Lanier and I, another incredible Fosse, Jerome Robbins extraordinaire.
Yes.
Love you, Jane. We did a backers audition for the film and stuff like that. So they were telling us who was on the list.
Now, did you want to do the film, or were you like, eh?
Actually, I auditioned for the film and didn't get it.
Oh, what?
Didn't get it. I auditioned for one of the girls.
Okay.
And matter of fact,
Did Deidre Goodwin get it?
no, I didn't audition for that role.
Okay.
Deidre, but Deidre did get it. Extraordinary. What had happened was when that happened was 9/11. The auditions were happening, and I didn't want to go, but I said, you know what, I'll just go and stuff like that. Have the time of my life, but yeah. I didn't get it because I just came off from doing Velma with Cheetah Rivera in London and West End, and I wanted to do Velma,
Right?
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I need to do a different role.
Yeah, I love y'all, but I want to do Velma. You're right. With Catherine, no. It's all good, but yeah.
And then another little tidbit, and this is so minute and trivial, but Rob wanted Catherine to wear her hair down to play Velma, and she was like, no, I want to wear a bob. And then after they cast her, they found out she was pregnant. And so then there was the challenge of trying to hide, get her in a corset that was tight enough to like pull that belly in for her to do those numbers. So they knew when they first started shooting that she was going to have this baby.
Wow.
So by the time the Oscars rolled around, she was full prego.
That's right. Good
when
for
she
her.
won the Oscar.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought that was a really beautiful homage to Bob. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't trying to, outdo Bob or, steal from Bob. He did his own thing, but it was such a beautiful tribute. And he's just extraordinary. I just adore him. I thought everybody was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Rob Marshall, I think, has kind of reinvigorated the movie musical here in Hollywood.
Yes,
because
he has.
up until him, nobody was really trying to be bothered. Like he did the film version of Chicago. He did Mary Poppins recently.
Yes.
I think he did one other one. I think he may have done Beauty and the Beast too.
And then Into the Woods as well.
Into the Woods, yes.
Into the Woods. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes. I love Rob Marshall. I got you.
Voice of God. Yes.
Yeah, so he has single-handedly reintroduced movie musicals to a whole different generation.
Yeah.
Him and Susan Stroman when she brought the producers to the big screen. So yeah, and they both of them, tidbit and FYI, but not really. They both came from the chorus.
Yeah.
They both were chorus dancers that
know.
elevated into choreographers, and now they are film choreographers. So
And
that's
brilliant directors, and just
Yeah.
their vision. And I got a chance to work with Rob when they asked me to perform for Cheetah Rivera at the Kennedy Center Honors. And so he put together all that jazz, and I played Velma, and it was extraordinary. And we did all the jazz. So
I love Cheetah so much. I saw her. She did her one-woman show, and she had Seth Rudetsky playing for her at the piano, and they did it here over at the old post office in Beverly Hills. I
Yeah.
forget what the Wallace, that's what it's called.
Yes.
So she did it over at the Wallace Annenberg. And this lady that I work with doing the Spotlight Awards, Jerry Gale, had somebody fall out on her at the last minute. So she was like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, what you going to?" She said, "You want to go to the Wallace Man?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, what you going to see?" She's like, "Cheetah Rivera." I'm like, "Oh my God, yes!"
Yes!
And we were like, fifth row or something. I was like, what is happening right now?
who am I?
And
How did I
Cheetah
get
was
here?
doing all of her. She was doing when she did the last song, "Isn't It Swell?"
Nowadays.
Nowadays, they were doing that. She did that song in Gwen's voice and her voice with the top hat and the cane. I'm like, I sat there and I was like, I will never see this again.
Well, also because that was like her best partner, her best like leading lady.
And that's what she says.
And when she talks about it and how she lights up every time she says anything about
Gwen, she loves her.
And so I had the wonderful opportunity to tell Michelle Williams and Bianca, who played Cheetah and Gwen, that story. Because you know what I mean, what that relationship was, and how she anytime you mention Gwen to her, oh my God, there's a light, and she
Michelle?
puts that
Or Cheetah?
and she puts that spotlight and has that spotlight that acting like that's where Gwen was. It can well up right now just thinking about it because it's just.
I know they
Magic.
Gwen,
it was magic.
yeah, Gwen Verdon and Bob Fosse and Cheetah Rivera. That group of dancers, they were extraordinary.
Paula Kelly.
Yes.
God.
Paula
all of
Kelly and
them.
Sweet Charity on that roof.
Vereen,
Yes.
all of the kids. All the
Yes.
kids were Jean Foot. All of them.
Yeah.
Just Pamela Sousa. I mean, just. The list goes on, whether it's television or it's film. Catherine Doby, Bob's a right on person that put.
I
her
worked
all,
with her too.
Yeah, she's the one that put us in dance, and thank God for her. And because she was strict as hell.
Yeah, she
Ooh,
is.
but thank God. But thank God for her because I'm the dancer I am because of her.
Absolutely.
One of the reasons.
What is your fondest memory of working with Gwen and Bob?
Two separate occasions. So. Well, as I said, for doing Big Deal, because of what I had to do, it just covered all bases. To be able to be in a room with just 5 of us helping him create the choreography for the new show. Mm-hmm. It's a new show.
Right.
Then,
it's brand new.
A brand new show. A Fosse show. And then I'm a trio. Oh my God, because he's always famous for his
Trios.
Trio, Dancer Dan in the Shadows. And then help to give auditions. Now I'm that girl. Where, I stand in front and demonstrate. And what was great to see, to look over and see Bob grinning, just so proud of us. Wasn't even looking at anybody else, but he was looking at us, being so proud of us. I'm like, oh my God. But two very wonderful things. One is during the audition process, Bob gets us in a huddle and he says, look, if there's any dancer that's not on top of the game right now, please let me know and I'll keep them as long as possible. You know what I mean? Because he didn't,
He didn't want to cut somebody immediately.
Yeah.
He wanted to give him a chance to get it together. Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Wayne's like that.
Yeah, I love
Wayne
that.
Cillento's like that.
And he would literally come up to you and say, put his hand on your shoulder and say, "Thank you very much. It's not going to work out this time, but maybe next time." And I'm like, you know what I mean? When I saw that, it was like, oh, be still my heart. And then lastly, with Bob, was during the show Big Deal, I had this big song during a very important sing. I sang "Happy Days Are Here Again." Oh my God, from the rafters. And oh my God, "Happy days are here again, the skies are very clear again." While the guys are at the urinal telling the story about getting ready to do this robbery. Big Deal on Madonna Street. And so Bob calls me and says, "Val, all upset." I said, "Bob, you okay?" And he says, "Val, I'm going to have to cut you from the number.
Oh no!
I'm going to have to cut your song because it's impeding on giving out this information because it's a very important scene. It ended the first act." And, he just felt so bad. I'm like, "It's okay, Bob. I totally get it. It's about the bigger picture."
Oh,
It's
you're
not
good.
about-
My feelings would have been so hurt.
No, because it wasn't about me. It was more of a compliment because what I was giving was, taken away from what they needed to move the
convey
story
at the time, yeah.
to move the story along. So it had nothing to do with me. It had to do, and I was like, "Bob, child, do what you need to do."
Girl, you more evolved than me because I would have been in a corner sobbing with a big old box of tissue.
No, I
You
had,
were
honey, I already
more
had.
evolved.
I had another song. So I know. it's
Okay, so you were good. Okay, all right.
I was good.
And
I
what's
was
your
fine.
favorite Gwen?
And my favorite Gwen story was during the Fosse. 1998, 99 on the Broadway, was Gwen comes to me at one of my after one of the shows, and we had already opened on Broadway, and she just said to me, "Val, you know how important Cherries is to Bob." And I was like, and then she basically told me that was his motto, and just her conversation and just the look on her face and what she wanted to convey. And she said, "Valarie, I just want to let you know, you need to sing more. I want you to sing. I want you to sing
I'm glad
more."
you listened to her because you did sing more.
Yeah, I did, and it was because of her. It was because of her, and even back in, because she also helped put together that first national tour of dance. It was Catherine Dobie, Gwen Verdon, and Chris Chapman, and she gave me brilliant stuff. She had me do everything, and she had me sing.
She was
she
really
had me
wonderful.
sing.
She had me auditioning for Velma Kelly. I was like, I can't do Velma Kelly. I was like, come on now,
Oh,
Gwen.
man.
And then FYI, but not really. So when we were rehearsing for Sweet Charity for the concert, she couldn't remember anybody's name but mine. She couldn't remember any. She knew my name, but she didn't know anybody else's name.
love it.
Oh, and then I have to tell the story because this is actually kind of funny. So what happened was we're in that line doing the spender line. Thank you. And we're in those poses for since Christ was a child, just like this.
I know.
And
Ooh, yeah.
what happens was we never walk to the tap tap with the heels, right? So Bellamy, who was on Scandal.
Yes, love me some Bellamy.
Bellamy was
Love
standing
her.
next to BB Newirth. And we had on those platform shoes from The Life.
Ooh.
And we went, "Whenever you walked in the joint, tap, tap." Mm-hmm. And Bellamy went tap, tap right on top of BB's foot.
Oh,
And
Lord.
yes, and BB showed her natural born behind for about 20 minutes. She acted out so badly that Gwen made everybody take a break. She pulled BB over to the side and told her, "You need to calm down. It's not that serious."
Wow.
And she was like, "Well, if my girls were here, if my dancers were here," she was like insinuating that we couldn't dance, which was really kind of rude. But she was going off, and Gwen pulled her over to the side and said, "I'm gonna need you to calm down." And she called everybody and BB was called everybody back. BB was still acting out, and she finally pulled BB to the side again and just made her leave for the day.
Wow.
Because she was on one, and it was
Wow.
like, wow.
Wow.
And Bellamy felt awful.
Yeah.
Bellamy cried for the rest of the day.
No,
But it was just like, really, though?
She's so extraordinary. I love me some Bellamy. I've known her for years.
Yep.
Yeah, for
Yep.
years.
We did
This
the
great
live, so
singer.
yeah.
Right.
She's great. So let's swing it now that we've talked about your experiences and my experiences
Yes.
and different shows and stuff. Let's talk about this FX project that's coming on tonight. But by the time people see this, it would have already aired.
Yes.
And it's called Fosse Verdon, and it's not so much centering on, you guys did some of the dances, but it's mostly centering on their relationship.
Yep, it's their love story and the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. And it spans from charity to probably I want to say cabaret. I think cabaret. So in those years, in those tumultuous years,
Okay.
and such.
Okay.
As far as Bob, such lack of confidence, and oh my God, never thought he was good enough. And how that dictated how he treated people, and Gwen, and blah blah blah, and the relationships and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but it really is about the love story, because for people that don't know, Gwen was there when he passed. Out of all the juke joints, out of all the
people in the world that could have been there, they were walking to the theater or from the theater when he collapsed. Yes.
Yep. Died. He died in her arms. I'm like, oh, but you can't make that up.
You can't write that kind of love story.
You can't write that kind of love story.
You really can't.
You
really
so.
Can't.
But from what I've heard, because I have not seen it yet, but what I hear is that it truly celebrates Gwen, because people don't realize how much Gwen influenced everything. So it's really awesome.
And this is the thing: a lot of people, I don't think, realize, especially this generation people, don't realize that when he met her, she was the star.
Yes,
this is somebody that won 4 Tony Awards before they were 34 years old.
That's right. Oh,
4 Tony Awards. I don't think anybody else on Broadway has done that. There might be one or two other people. Audra. Audra is the only.
Audra's won like 106.
Audra is the only other person other than Gwen Verdon to have won those many awards. That's a female.
Yeah.
So what does that say? And the Tonys are like 70 years old or something.
That's right.
So I'm just saying. So this is somebody that won 4, and I think Audra won her last Tony when she was in her late 30s, early 40s. Gwen won all 4 of hers before she even turned 34 years old.
Right.
So that's like, to do that is ridiculous.
It's unheard of.
That's ridiculously crazy.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that people know that she was the star first, and then he became a star. He became a star using her as his muse for choreography, and they worked out stuff and steps together. Like anything that he thought step-wise, she could make it come to life.
Yeah.
And they were perfect for each other in that way. I'm correct in saying that,
Yes,
right?
you are. Yes, you are.
Because I don't want to say anything that's incorrect and be disseminating false news or fake news.
Right, fake news, no. Because Bob was extraordinary as a dancer himself. I mean, because everybody always says, because it's true, he kind of used his shortcomings. You know what I mean? He might have been a little bit more rounded shoulders. He thought, he was more turned in, maybe it was. But he was extraordinary. You go watch some of those tapes, kids, of Mr. Fosse turning it out and really turning it out and leaping higher than anybody. So,
yes. And she had issues too, because when she was little, her leg, she was so knock-kneed that they wanted to break her legs to make them straight. So she walked pigeon-toed naturally because she was knock-kneed.
Right.
And her doing that Fosse style worked perfectly for her because
he created the broken doll for her.
Exactly.
Which is that step.
Exactly.
Ah! Well, that's what Bob was, also a genius at. He would take, personally, limbs or whatever, or trials or tribulations, or take popular steps and turn it into something and make them something, to, move a story along, dictate the what the show is about, what the scene is about, because there's not only incredible steps with Bob, it's also the intent. That was very important as well.
And I want to say this before we go on to talk about Discovery of Witches and sign off for the program, but I wanted to say that he also, and Gwen as well, they were really big on acting.
Yes.
They felt like dance was an extension of acting, because I heard Gwen say in an interview, and I can't remember who it was with, but she said in an interview once that a lot of people felt like, when you come see a Broadway show, there's singing, acting, and then the dancers come on and dance, and that was not so. the chorus people, they were part of the town. They were part of whatever the world that the musical was creating.
Yeah.
So because of that, you had to be able to act. You had to be able to sing. You had to be able to dance. And you had to do all three equally as good as the other.
Yep.
You couldn't be like, so-so over here and then knock this, that, and the other out over there.
Yeah,
you had
just scenery. You had to. And that's why the auditions the way they were. It's like, it wasn't just dance steps. I mean, you had to sing, you had to act, you had to play, could you play instruments? Could you do what specialties did you have? He was interested in all of that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you came and talked to me about Fosse and Verdon.
Thank you.
Discovery of Witches. Tell us about that real fast.
Oh my God. Okay. Discovery of Witches is now on AMC and BBC America. It's based on these incredible books by Deborah Harkness, the All Souls trilogy. It stars Matthew Good and Teresa Palmer and and Alex Kingston and some of the most incredible actors on the face of the earth. And it's about vampires, demons, and witches that live among us. In everyday life, you think, you might be you never know who you might be sitting next to.
Valarie, you are so dramatic.
And it's a beautiful love story. It's smart. It's sci-fi, something I've always wanted to do. I thank Bad Wolf and everybody involved that got me into this particular show. And I play a lesbian witch, and I'm very proud of it. And I have great powers too.
Oh, Lord.
Yes!
And on that note, I think we will end.
Wait, Tuesday, we're doing my Tuesday. Tuesday night is Fosse, and on Sundays, 9 p.m.
Yes, I was just about to wrap it up for you.
I'm sorry, baby.
That's all right, girl. So you can do your tag again.
I'm sorry.
But I wanted to wrap it up and let people know that Fosse Verdon will be on FX on Tuesday night for the next 4 Tuesday nights, I think at 9 or 10 o'clock. Check your local listings for when it comes on. But it will be on FX on Tuesday night. So check your local listings for the exact time, because I'm not quite sure based on what time zone or what country you may be watching this in. I also wanted to let Valarie tell you where you can find us a Discovery of Witches and where everybody can find you on social media.
So in America, or in the States, you can see it on AMC as well as BBC America, Sundance Now, and Shudder. But on AMC and BBC America, you can see it on Sunday nights at 9 p.m., 8 Central. And you can also, in Europe and Australia and all those other incredible countries, the series is already out. So you can, get it on DVD or whatever, or stream it on Sky One.
Cool. And you can find me, your host, Carla Renata, at The Curvy Critic across all social media platforms. You can also find me right after this show at AfterBuzz TV doing the General Hospital Report, or the GH Report as we like to call it, talking about all things Port Charles. And I can't talk. And until the next time, when we come back for episode 56, we will be talking about all things Avengers Endgame with my boy Scott Mance. So until then, me and Valarie Pettiford are going to say what?
What?
Deuces!
Bye. Peace out. Love you guys.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content. And be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live. Hollywood redefined.